From Bree Newsome speaking at the College of Charleston tonight to President Donald Trump to the latest town hall meetings, Larry Kobrovsky and Brady Quirk-Garvan speak to me one-on-one for this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Brady and Larry, it is so good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Awesome,
yeah, Brady.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Great to see you guys.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, let me just start off with the obvious. Bree Newsome, she's going to have a lecture event at the College of Charleston at 7 o'clock tonight at the Satilli Theater.
Yeah.
When you think of Bree Newsome, what plays in your mind?
Well, I think what plays in my mind is that she's a activist who clearly chose to do something that broke the law, and she paid the penalty for it. But I'm proud to see her speaking at the college tonight. As an alum of the College of Charleston, I'm thrilled to see them have a diverse array of people on campus speaking, and I think it's important to highlight people who not only are working in the academic field, but also working in the community on the social justice front. So I'm really thrilled that she's going to be here, and I think it's important as a symbolic measure to have her speaking here on campus.
Larry, what speaks out to you when you think of that?
Well, I think to me it's symbolic of the hypocrisy of what you see in college campuses. And certainly I welcome anybody to come speak.
Sure.
So students should hear a diversity of opinions, and that's what colleges are for. And even to hear people that don't think like yourself, and you can learn from listening. But it speaks to the larger issue. There was an article in the paper not too long ago.
Right.
If you were a conservative in coming here, the person probably first wouldn't be allowed to speak. It wouldn't be invited by the college, and there would be, there'd be protest. And look at Berkeley when they.
Right.
And the person they invited may not have been the best, but the point was there were riots, people beaten up over it, and there's really no free speech on colleges.
Except for the fact that the president of the College of Charleston was the former Republican president of the Senate. I mean, the president and leader of the college is a known and long-term conservative Republican.
Well, I grant you that, but in terms of, I don't know how much direct control he has over who speaks. I think that the information I'm getting may be different than Brady. It's all a matter of perspective that I got from conservative students, that professors were writing, excuse the language, like F you, you don't get out. If you voted for Trump, you don't belong here, and writing on their Facebook to that effect. And as other people were booing those students and leaving the room and calling them, privileged, white, the B word. And there's a lot of hostility that you engender if you're not. It's almost the reverse of the 60s. If you're a nonconformist and you're in college, you'd be on our side. There's a conformity of thought, which I think is dangerous. And the person who you're talking about will be lauded as a hero. For instance, I know they have the diversity consultant at the college for the person for social justice. They're having, who's the speaker that's coming up? I saw that in the paper. I wrote it down. He's written lots of books. Takeshi Coates, right. I've heard a lot about him. I read his stuff. He had a big article in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
You may read that and see a social justice warrior. I look at that and I see a racist. He talked about all the people, and first of all, he talked about the Reagan Democrats. He said they were racist who voted because they resented the progress of blacks. And I'm saying, well, speaking about millions of people you don't know and making a blanket statement based on what they look like, I was taught that was ignorant. When he talked about the vote in Pennsylvania,
the point of college to have people on the campus that are going to push your views?
Yes, Brady, it is. I don't mind him coming, but would they invite somebody who's also conservative?
Absolutely.
The social justice group would not invite a conservative, because I believe the feeling I have is they look at.
I can remember on campus John McCain speaking.
Right.
Certainly not a social justice warrior from the left.
Right.
I can remember Mitt Romney speaking
When they ran for president.
But your point is that they don't allow conservatives on to speak, and that's categorically false. They do. They come speak. They have people from the right and left, and that's what's a positive thing. So I think to say they wouldn't invite them is just not true. So different groups would invite them. Yes, the college Republicans invite Mark Sanford. The college Democrats might invite Jim Clyburn. But there is a mix of opinions there, and to paint the colleges only having one view, I think is just not accurate.
Brady, I think that is a good point. If you have the college Republicans inviting people and the college Democrats, but the social justice warriors, whoever the group is, they're supposedly speak for everybody. That they would not invite a conservative. That's a group speaking, and I would think that of all groups, that they invite conservatives to balance him, I think that would be a positive thing. That would challenge them to invite somebody on our side to speak as well. And then it would be, I have no objections to that as speaker. I think it's good for people to hear people, but that group, who again is to increase.
So your
diversity
issue is
of
with
thought.
the group, not who's coming, because
Right.
I just think it's important to make sure that
No,
that
if they
we're not-
presented a balanced thing. I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off, Bree. Go ahead.
But just that the college does provide a balance of speakers. Your issue is with this one particular group, but that the college as a whole provides a diverse array of speakers.
Right, but in the name of diversity, they suppress diversity of thought. The one group that's
just not
supposedly
true.
the social justice, whatever they call themselves, that speaks to increase diversity, they're not. They do diversity because of skin color, but not diversity of thought. I mean, not everybody thinks the same because they look alike. And I think
We'll just have to agree to
okay.
disagree. I mean, that's just
Okay.
I can't imagine that's
Well,
not based in reality.
okay.
In my head.
Well, let
we
me turn,
disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me turn to Sunday. As you know, Confederate flags were flown above most of the Sunday's Charleston public garages, and I know it was because of the members of the secessionist party.
Right.
Sure.
And of course, on the other side of the parking garages at Marion Square, you had the Black Lives Matter group, and obviously there's a debate going on with that. When you look back to Sunday to now, what is the biggest difference in your mind?
About what it meant to Charleston, or what the. I mean, obviously you have people looking at the world differently, and they have a right to do whatever they want, and they should leave each other alone. That's how I would look at it.
And my thought is simply that in 2017, I think it's sad to see people that feel the need to do that with the Confederate flag. You'll notice they also were blocks away from the Mother Emanuel Church. That was very intentional and a way to try and rub this in the face of Charlestonians and get a reaction out of people. They were waving a Trump flag with them. I think, this is what's happened over the last couple of months since Trump took precedence, is that people on the far right and I'm not saying it's all, but the racist fringe and base of the Republican Party is feeling more emboldened to do things like this. And so I think we're going to see more instances of that. And I think it's important for people, you don't have to be out in the street or things like that, but I think it's important for us to call it out and say that, here in South Carolina, we are part of the United States of America. We fly the American flag, we fly the South Carolina flag, but when we're here in Charleston and blocks away from Mother Emanuel, I think it's rude and disrespectful at a minimum to be doing that, and I was glad to see people call them out for that.
I would say that, we strongly disagree in that, Bree. I think the politicalization of symbols for what they don't mean into something else. For instance, I saw every time they have Ruth, he appeared one time online with a Confederate flag, therefore the Confederate flag is a hate symbol. How many people around the world have been burned alive, raped, and murdered in our own country in the name of Islam? And they say Al Akbar plays out, they hold the Quran. Nobody is
But
making
you'd be
the
upset
argument.
if they flew an ISIS flag, right? You'd be upset if they flew an ISIS flag because that's a symbol of terrorism and hate.
Well, no, I'm saying that you're taking a Confederate flag and making it symbolic of hate and racism
Yes.
in a way that you're not doing when people appear with the Quran. And everything in there is in there about who they murder and kill. We're doing the name of Allah and the right. You don't make the same thing. Why is that not a hate symbol to you? If you're saying because one lunatic
Sure.
holds a flag, he does not represent all people who are interested in that. Why is that different than people who murder and kill and hold the Quran? And I'm not suggesting
here's-
every Muslim is like that, but you're making the assumption because one lunatic
Sure.
holds a flag. But yet many people around the world say we're killing in the name of Allah. They hold the Quran.
Yep.
They cut people's heads off. They
Got it.
rape women, burn
Yep.
them alive.
So-
And you never have made that connection.
So I've made the connection, except much like Dylan Roof called himself a Christian. I don't
Right.
associate his actions with his religion.
Right.
I associate people who carry out acts of terrorism as members of ISIS or ISIL. So if someone came to Charleston and flew an ISIS flag as a symbol of hate and oppression and terrorism, yes, I would call that out. Much like the Confederate flag, which for years has stood as a symbol of oppression and hatred, was a symbol to show people that they believed in white power over black people. I think when people fly that as a symbol, that wasn't just because they decided to fly a flag. They were trying to prove a point. They felt emboldened. These are secessionists that are part of a, want to form a white nation, which is what Dylann Roof believed in. So I think the correct analogy is, yes, I would call out someone who flew an ISIS flag just like I would call out someone who
Brady,
flies a
they were
Confederate
holding a
flag.
Quran and they were saying Allah Akbar, and they were
I don't know
doing
who that, but
every time that they behead somebody, they hold the Quran. They also do the ISIS flag, but they're also holding the Quran, saying we're doing the name of Allah. You have not. I don't see how is that not the same hate signal. If every time they behead somebody and rape people and burn them alive, they're saying they're doing it because of this, and you're not making that connection. And I'm not saying so one lunatic holds a flag, so everybody who has that.
But were the people Sunday who are flying a Confederate flag, were they doing it because they thought it was a good time, or because they were trying to wave that flag as a public display of their hatred of people who are not white? Why were they flying that flag Sunday? And I think the answer is clearly they were trying to show that they believe in a white nation, in a secessionist nation. They don't want to be a part of the United States because we are diverse and multicultural. That is why they were there flying that flag. And I don't see how you
know this because
because they were part of the secessionist party. That's who organized it. That's who paid for it. That's who sent out press releases on their behalf. So, when they're out doing that in the name of secession, when they're doing it in the name of the neo-Nazi party, that is...
Well, how is that different, Brady, saying we're killing the name of Allah because you're an infidel?
Well, but I don't understand how
is that not a symbol? For political purposes, you're spreading, okay, not everybody who, neither you or I was born here. We live in an area where people have lived for generations. Many of their ancestors fought in the Confederacy.
Sure.
And they might have a different relationship to it that has nothing to do with anything you're talking about.
But that's not who was out there.
Well, I don't know anything about them, but
why can't we condemn
but you made the thing about the Confederate flag in a way that you're not doing with the Quran or Allah.
Correct.
When people kill and burn in the name of Allah, rape, murder, cut people's heads off, they hold the Quran up.
Yeah.
And I'm not, you're saying everybody with the flag is a certain way, but you're not doing it the other way.
No, I'm saying the group that was there Sunday as a part of the secessionist party, who is there to spread hate and fear and try and intimidate people, I want to call them out publicly, and I would hope that other rational-minded people would call them out. Because
well, obviously anybody that's trying to cause hatred or to intimidate people, but I wasn't there. I don't know.
Well, they were certainly not opening. They were not there with open arms with a big tent saying, "Come on, join the party." If you're not white-skinned, I mean, you know that. You don't have to admit it if you don't want, but you know that that's not what they were there saying. They were there to spread a message of hate, and I think it's important. Until the day I die, I think it's important to call out people who want to spread hatred, and I feel like that's
I
what
would think
doing.
I would ask you to apply that equally to all people who want to express hatred and so forth. And I don't see, again, if somebody is holding a Quran saying we're killing the name of Allah, it's all there. I mean, why don't you condemn that too?
I would condemn anyone who commits acts of terrorism.
But you don't see what they're holding as an equal symbol of hate. As you do, you think a Confederate flag is a symbol of hate.
It is.
In a way, but they're holding the symbols of their religion when they murder, rape, and kill people. But you don't see that as a symbol of hate. Why should the flag apply to all people who have a certain, view of the Confederacy, but yet you don't do that when people are killing in the name of Islam? And because my position is not everybody in the flag thinks like the people you said, and not all people who are members of Islam think that their symbol represents hate and murder. So I don't know how you but both people, lunatics on all sides, kill in the name of a symbol, but it doesn't apply to everybody who looks at it that way. That's what I'm saying.